The purpose of this tutorial is to demonstrate how to test whether or not your kamikaze attack is working properly. So the kamikaze attack in this model happens based on whether or not we're inside the kamikaze range, which is set up in a separate block. So first thing when you test anything is to make sure that you understand what the expected behavior we're going to see is. So the expected behavior we would like to see is repeatedly passing through the not kamikaze pathway as we move toward it. And then eventually when we get into the kamikaze range, we'll see it go through that pathway exactly one time. So while we're testing, in order to preclude the possibility that we're going to get shot down by the blue weapon before we get to kamikaze, we're going to temporarily reroute. So notice that the, hey, I'm not in the path in the kamikaze range yet, goes to this sub weapon label. Instead of doing that, we're going to throw back to motion area. So we want to throw back to the motion area rather than going into, rather than passing into the rather than passing into the area where we can be fired at by the blue weapon. So what I'm going to do is just set up a direct pathway back here rather than setting up a throw block. So again, this sets up a pathway to where the only way we're going to exit this model is through the sub-suicide. We're bypassing all the blue weapons. Now we're going to see whether this really has the intended effect. So we do that by opening up this block. And what we expect to see here is we're going to see if this is working. We're going to see the throughput when we run with one zombie to be going back to the motion generator a bunch of times, and then exactly one throughput through to the zombie death. And that tells us that it's working as intended. So we do have to set up the max swarm, which is now set at 5. So we go into the extensim database, set it to be 1. Okay, now that it's set to 1, we can go ahead and just run the model with no animation. The model has now run. We're going to open this up, and we see that we indeed have 62 times while it was getting into the area, and then exactly 1 time when we went into the suicide. If we see anything other than this pattern, then that indicates that you have some type of a problem with the ranges, or you have some type of a problem with the settings inside this select out block. And this concludes the tutorial.